it down. You will find on your chairs an index card. If we don't have time for questions, put your questions on there, and within maybe a couple of days, I'll assemble the questions, plus I'll add in the top questions I always get asked when I mentor authors, and I'll send it to everybody. What I'd like to tell you is my actual story on how I was able to get published this many times. I was at a lunch table with all my colleagues at work. They actually asked me, we were talking about the Myers-Briggs. You ever hear that, the personality test? And I was talking about how that could be used so well in judging and building teams and also finding people that they gravitate to their best jobs. The passion came out because I was just into it, just learning as much as I could. My girlfriend Joanne goes, "You should write an article." Joanne, I stink at spelling, I stink at grammar, and I can't tell the right there to use. Don't worry about it. Just take a chance. Go talk to Mary. She's published several times in software development. In my field, that was one of the top magazines at the time. So, of course, I rushed over and said, "Hey, Mary, how do you do it?" She says, "It's very easy. You have to follow the writer's guidelines." Where do I find those? Well, at that time, the internet was not there and not as strong as it is now. So what she said is you call the editor-in-chief and ask for the writer's guidelines. What I've learned since is that's only one tiny piece of it, because that tells you the number of words. Now with the internet, you can pull in an article, copy it into Word, do a word count, and you can figure out that most of the words are between 1,000 and 2,000 for an article. What you can do after that is what I've learned is where the best information is. Where do magazines make their money?
Advertising.
Thank you. Bingo. Under every website, and also you can actually contact in the magazine, is for the advertiser's media kit. In the advertiser media kit, they will have the editorial calendar. They plan at least a year in advance what they want to appear in what issue. Do not look at the issue. Look at when the advertisers have to have their artwork in by. That is what you want to go and target. In fact, target, if you can, a month before that. So if you see something like I did, they had something on teamwork. Well, hey, Myers-Briggs and teamwork, that's what I wanted to write about. It was 4 months out. I said, well, I can get the guts up and do that. And I could plan. I knew the number of words were 1,500. I knew that the magazine wanted all the artwork done in 4 months, 3 months. I had submitted my article. Get it ahead of time. The other thing that is very important in the advertiser's description is that they're trying to sell you to actually take an ad. So what they tell you is the demographics. Who is their readership? Software development, at the time, this is pre-outsourcing, it happened to be males between the ages of 25 and 35. So after I wrote my first draft of the article, Joanne corrected my grammar and spelling. I went to some of my colleagues, the guys, saying, "Hey, you like this article? Is this something you want? You would be interested in reading?" "Oh, this is way too touchy-feely." "Well, what would you like to have?" "Well, I would like to know how to get the conflict resolved between these two kinds of people." So I put that in the article. The goal is to reach not what you want to tell people, but what the readers want. The more you cover in the demographic, the better your chances of getting selected. The fact that you have it within the writer's guidelines and the fact that you get it in early will all help you to get published in a magazine. Advertisers also are told the size of graphics. If you're going to have any sort of artwork as part of your article, check out their dimensions. And make sure it looks good in black and white. The magazine may be color, but anybody that wants to remember you is going to make it black and white copy. That is the secret. And I did exactly all that. I got feedback from a lot of people, and I wound up being the cover article of the magazine because I followed those simple rules. It doesn't matter that they've had plenty of articles on teamwork. In fact, that even is in your favor because people are interested in it. That's why they keep on printing about it. Just add a little twist. Authors succeed because they help other authors. When these two gentlemen went and edited and gave me their feedback on the article, of course I sent them a nice little handwritten thank you note. They rushed out to buy the magazine. And they came back and said, "Pat, it really came out good. Congratulations." I said, "Great, you feel that way? Do me a favor, send a letter to the editor." And this way, in a future issue, people are reminded about your great article. And make sure to thank them by saying, "Now your name is in print." Everybody has an ego. Everybody wants to help. Make sure you take advantage of those things. A few years later, I was working at a client, and I met Michael Rothstein. He was talking that he had published several books, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, fantastic! I'm amazed." I said, "Who published them?" He goes, "Oh, McGraw-Hill." I was like, "That's a pretty darn big publisher." He goes, "Yeah, thank you. Have you ever written?" "Well, I've written articles." "Let me see them." And I showed him the articles, and he came to me later. He goes, "They were good. You interested in doing a chapter?" Excuse me. The book I'm working on now is a collaboration of 25 different people. Now, I would never have been asked that question if I had not done magazine articles. So start small first, start local. Here I am talking to him. I said, "Michael, I'd love to help you. If there's any way I can help you with this, you have to understand something. I don't know the difference between THEIO and THEIO. Not a problem. I have the book contract, which means my name goes on the cover. For you, if you do a good job, you will be mentioned inside the book under contributors, and your name will be under the chapter. I will make sure that my name is not polluted. I will check your work. I will check your grammar. This is the format I want you to follow." And that is very important. He said, "I want 20 questions, I want answers, I want a little bit of an intro." Follow the author's rules. He is the one with the contract. He is the one that sold the book project. Stick to what he wants as much as possible. Well, I was so excited. I went home that weekend, and he gave me the article, the chapter on project management. I finished it over that weekend, gave it to him. He said, "Here, is this what you're looking for? You're done already?" "Yeah, well, I want to make sure I'm on the right track. Could you make sure that I'm doing this? Is there any tweaks you want me to make?" "You're fine. In fact, you're so fine. Here's your contract to sign with me, that you will be in the chapter." And I did. I ended up being in the contribution, and my name was also on the cover, on the chapter. That may not seem much to you, but I went on a job interview. And what I sat down, the guy, very pompous, looking at me, as he did with all the interviewees, pulled out from his desk, said, "What question do I ask you that's not in here?" Kind of freaked me out, but I got the job. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm at a consulting assignment, and one of the employees, one of the sweetest guys that ever came sheepishly over to me and says, "Pat," I said, "Yeah, can I ask you a personal question?" "You can ask, I may not answer." "Well, is this you?" I said, "Yes, it is." He goes, "Can I have your autograph?" Let me tell you something. There is nothing like that. It's very humbling, and it really does feed your ego. It happens. You will be found. Once you are commercially published, you will be found. Because I helped Michael Rothstein through that book, he gave me 2 chapters in the next one. After that book, he says, it's time for me to kick you in the butt. It's time for you to do your own book. Whoa. You know, I had you as the intermediary to correct my theirs and theirs. You expect me to do this on my own? Let me tell you something. Publishing houses have people that tighten your words and they correct your grammar and spelling. You don't have to worry about that. They hire people inside the company or else they actually go and outsource it. There are copy editors all over the place. You don't have to worry about that. If you want, you can take a co-author. But remember, it is your project, your contract, that you can offer all the others, but it's your reputation, your name, and your name that goes in Amazon. I thought about co-authors. It is a nightmare. I don't recommend it unless you really, really, really can trust the person, know the person that they will deliver on time. Try it on your own. You'll get much more satisfaction. Now, I said, how do I go about writing a book? How do I get started? He says, well, you need to go and meet acquisition editors. Acquisition editors are the ones that decide what book to publish. They don't make a lot of money, but they do appreciate a really nice lunch. One with cloth tables, with waiter service. So, of course, I met the acquisition editor at McGraw-Hill, who sat to me and said, look, he goes, I'm giving you a break to talk to you, 1, because of this nice restaurant, and number 2, because I recently made a huge mistake. But let me tell you one rule about getting published. Make our life easier. There was a guy that had a series in mind, and he was adamant about the title on that book. And I just didn't think it would sell. So that author wound up going to 20 different publishing houses to try to finally get published. He says, now granted, this was one of my mistakes, but it's a rare one, because that was the Dummy series. He turned down the Dummy series because the guy did not look like he was willing to work with him, that he was going to be a little more difficult. If you want to get published, be flexible. Make their lives easier. McGraw-Hill didn't want it. They said, look, we had too many of these books already in our inventory. We don't want another title like what you're looking to do. So I went to the next one, and I wound up going to the American Management Association. Tony Valamas, my first acquisition editor that I worked with, was an absolute doll. Of course, I took him to a very nice restaurant. We sat down, and he explained, he says, look, he goes, you've done magazines, so you know about editorial calendars. Yes, I do. There's also something like that for publishing houses. They see what kind of books they want to write. The book you want doesn't fit. We deal with business managers. Your book is more for techies. But I noticed on your resume, and I noticed on your bio, on your articles, that you know about data warehousing. We would love a book that explains to the business people what the heck it is, what they need to do, how to prepare. Do you think you could write such a book? I'll give it a try. He says, look, forget about the book proposal. I'll take care of the back part, that part. Just give me your outline, your book outline. List the chapters, the premise for every chapter, maybe an introduction. And when you're done, contact me. Only about 50 people go that far.